Hey everybody, Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Ford Performance Lowering Kit fitting 2015 to 2020 F-150 Super Cab and Super Crew models, excluding the Raptor. This kit is perfect for the F-150 owner who's looking to go low with their build. It's going to drop your truck and even out its stance and provide it with a cool look and improved handling prowess. So if you're after that street truck look or old school F-150 Lightning vibe with your build, stay tuned because you're going to like this one. It's no secret that we love lifted trucks around these parts, but I'm also a fan of that lowered street truck style, and the rest of the crew here are coming around as well. Now this kit comes right from Ford's Performance division, and it's going to lower your truck 1.5 inches in the front and 2.5 inches in the rear. So not only is this a pretty significant drop in overall height, but that larger rear drop will even out the stance, so the truck sits nice and level front to back. It's going to give the truck a much lower, meaner stance, and again, it fits that street truck vibe perfectly. To accomplish that drop, you get a couple of things in this kit. First up is new coil springs for the front end. So these are physically shorter than your factory springs, hence the lower height. These are also stiffer than stock as well to help improve handling and make sure that the stock dampers can be used without issue. So yes, you can reuse your stock shock absorbers with this kit. The damping will still work well even with the lower height. These are again designed to work with stock shocks. You also get a matched set of spacers and some new isolators in there to help keep everything within factory alignment specs as well. Moving back, you get a couple of other things. First off is going to be a transmission spacer. So this is going to slide into your transmission mount and give it the proper spacing to make sure that your driveline is aligned properly as well. Now at back, of course, is the big ticket item, and that is the set of lowering shackles to drop that ride height. And of course, you get new U-bolts here. These are going to fit better than the stock ones, and they'll be the proper length to adjust for this lowering kit. And this does mean that you're going to keep your factory leaf springs and shock absorbers. In the kit too, you get new bushings and sleeves for the shackles, and you've got some spacers for the rear blocks as well, again to help everything fit perfectly. Now all of this means that your truck is going to handle better than it did from the factory due to the fact that it is physically lower to the ground. Lowering that center of gravity also quells some body roll, and the stiffer springs up front here are going to help reduce body movement and turns. And while this is not to say that it's going to transform your F-150 into a Mustang or a sports car, it is going to make for a pretty dramatic change in both the looks and handling of your truck. And since this kit also reuses your stock shock absorbers front and rear, your ride quality isn't going to be that much different from stock. Of course, changing those front springs and the travel overall is going to make things a bit more stiff, but it's not going to make it a punishing ride. The springs here are made from a high tensile strength steel, and they're finished in Ford Performance's signature blue for extra protection against rust and corrosion. The shackles and the spacers here are all laser cut for precision and a tight fit, and the shackles also again include new polyurethane bushings to keep things tight, and you get all the hardware that you need to get this stuff fitted as well. You'd be forgiven for thinking that because this comes from Ford Performance that it's going to be expensive. Not really so in this case. Pricing for this one is going to come in at about $450, and that actually makes it one of the most affordable lowering kits on the market for these trucks, and it's definitely the most affordable one that includes springs. Now this is a pretty complete kit. It's going to get your truck lowered without having you buy anything else, plus it leaves you the flexibility to add other upgraded suspension components like shocks and sway bars and whatnot to tailor your truck just the way you like it. Installation is going to get a 3 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job is going to take you about 4 hours, possibly a little bit more to complete. And while this is all pretty straightforward and it's all going to bolt on without having to modify your truck, you are going to need a spring compressor to disassemble your front struts, put these new springs and these new isolators in. So make sure you've got that. You can take your time and do it safely. Everything else again is going to bolt in, but you're going to need to do some support and some swapping out of components. If you're not too comfortable with that, professional installation is always an option. All that said though, let's head out to the shop now and we will walk you through the process step by step so that hopefully you can tackle it at home.
For this install, you will need air and electric impacts, various ratchets, a long extension, 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter if necessary, a pry bar, a breaker bar, 3/8 swivel adapter, 8, 10, 15, 16, 18, 19, 21, 24, and 27 millimeter sockets, a 15 millimeter ratchet wrench, 18, 19, and 21 millimeter wrenches, an adjustable wrench or 24 millimeter wrench if you have it, regular and dead blow hammers, a bungee cord, a ball joint service tool, and also not shown here is some pole jacks or jack and jack stands, and also a spring compressor. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a lowering kit on our F-150. Now we're going to start in the rear, and once we get to the front, we'll send you to watch a short video on how to remove your front suspension, and then we'll come back and show you how to install your new setup. So we've got our truck in the air, and we've got our differential supported with a couple pole jacks, as well as an optional one at the yoke of the differential. That's just going to help us maintain our driveline angle once we're moving the diff up and down and doing what we need to do. So the first thing we're going to do is remove our rear shocks. So we're going to grab our 15 mil socket on our impact and an 18 millimeter wrench, remove the lower and upper mounts, and go ahead and pull our shocks out. Now once we have the nut off of our upper shock mount, we'll go ahead and support our shock, remove our bolt, and then go ahead and remove our shock. Now that we have this one out, we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So the next thing we're going to do is remove our factory U-bolts and go ahead and remove that factory spacer. So what we're going to do is grab our 21 mil socket on our impact and go ahead and remove our mounting nuts for our U-bolts, and remove the cradle and remove our U-bolts themselves. Once you remove your last one, you want to support your cradle bracket. Go ahead and pull that off. Then we can go ahead and pull our U-bolts off. Then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, and then we can lower our differential down and get these blocks out. So now we'll go ahead and use our pole jacks, lower our differential down just enough to get our blocks out. And pull those out, do the same thing on the other side. So our next step is going to be to loosen up and remove our rear shackles from our leaf springs so we can get our new ones in. Now, one thing to note here is if you are looking at your instruction packet for this kit, Ford Performance is going to tell you need to drop your fuel tank, drive shaft, and exhaust in order to get this bolt out. However, if you're doing this at home in your driveway, you're not going to want to do all that, so we're going to show you a safe, solid workaround to get your rear shackles removed and your new ones installed that does not involve any of that up front here. If you want to follow the instructions, that's also fine, but this is 100% safe, 100% effective. It will work. So we'll go ahead and loosen up our front bolt here, and then we'll go ahead and show you how to remove your rear shackle without doing all of that. So to loosen up our front bolt here, this is very tight. So what we're going to do is grab an adjustable wrench or a 24 millimeter wrench if you have it, and a 27 millimeter socket and breaker bar. We're going to go ahead and grab onto our bolt here, then loosen up this nut. Now we are not going to be fully removing this, we're just loosening it up. So we'll go ahead and crack this loose. And once we have this loose, we'll go ahead and switch out to a ratchet and loosen that nut up a good bit. So about right there will be loose enough for what we need to do. Next, we're going to go ahead and loosen up our shackle to spring bolt. So we'll grab our 21 mil wrench and a 24 millimeter socket on our breaker bar so we can break this loose. Kind of a weird angle, but so now again we'll switch out to our ratchet and go ahead and loosen that up a good bit and remove that nut. You can go ahead and take this nut off. And you want to retain this hardware because we're going to reuse it. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our lower shackle to body bolt here. So we're going to put our 24 millimeter socket on our ratchet. That's going to go in the opening on the back side of this bracket here, right next to your spare tire. Go ahead and lock that onto our nut. We're gonna grab our 21mm socket on our breaker bar so we can bust this loose. We can reach up in here, remove our nut. Now we're going to go ahead and support our leaf spring and remove our shackle bolt here. And we're going to get our shackle out of the bracket like so. You can even move it out like this to rest it here. So now what we're going to do is take a larger pry bar and go ahead and come to the inside of the leaf spring, and we're going to hook that onto really anywhere on your frame like so. And we're going to pry up and out on that. That's going to bring this out far enough, and as you can see, the pry bar will support this. So we can go ahead and remove our bolt. Now it does get a little tight in here. You may have to readjust your pry bar. Just be careful of your shackle when you remove your bolt. Once it gets to this point, you may need to go ahead and just support it. Swing it out. Once you have that out, your shackle will drop, and out comes your bolt. And you can rest that for now. So we'll go ahead and grab our 8mm and 10mm socket for our ratchet and remove these two bolts holding our brackets in place. And once we pull that out and separate our bracket, we'll go ahead and put that bolt right back where it went. This just makes things easier to keep track of. It's easy to lose these small bolts. We'll swap out to our 10mm socket. Go ahead and remove this one. Make sure that's free and clear. It's not going to catch on anything. Next, we can go ahead and remove our outer tie rod nut using our 21mm socket on our impact. Now we can go ahead and separate the tie rod from its seat using a ball peen hammer, and we're just going to smack the knuckle right on the side here, and that's going to shock it loose. So sometimes these can be a little bit stubborn coming out, so what we're going to do is grab our ball joint service tool and go ahead and use this to press our tie rod out of the knuckle. So we'll go ahead and hook this onto our knuckle and get our pusher lined up with the bottom of our ball joint shaft. Get that nice and tight there. And we're going to grab our 16mm socket on our impact and gently push that out. Now you do want to exercise caution because this is going to be under pressure, so don't put your face near it or anything like that. And once that's up and out, go ahead and pull our tie rod out. Now we can go ahead and loosen up our sway bar end link from our lower control arm. So we'll grab our 18mm socket on our impact and run that nut off. Next, we'll go ahead and remove our sway bar end link from our lower control arm. So we'll grab our 18mm socket on our impact to do that. Now we can go ahead and loosen up our mounting nut for our upper ball joint here. And we're not going to fully remove this just yet. We're going to leave it on a couple threads. It's going to help catch the knuckle once we separate the ball joint from the knuckle. So we'll grab our 18mm socket and swivel adapter on our impact, loosen this up. Make sure that stays on a few threads. Now before we separate this, we're gonna go ahead and grab a bungee cord and wrap that around the top of the knuckle and hook it to our frame. This is gonna help hold our knuckle and allow it to not drop and separate any of our axle components or anything like that. Just a handy dandy tool to have. Go ahead and hook this. Now we'll go ahead and grab our hammer and give our knuckle a few taps here to separate that ball joint. So now we'll go ahead and get our nut off of here and get our ball joint out of our knuckle, and we'll just roll our knuckle to the side. Okay. Just go ahead and stick that nut right back on our upper ball joint. So now we can go ahead and unbolt our lower strut mounts. Now ours have been replaced due to many previous installs and overworking of our hardware. So ours is going to be a 19 mil wrench and a 19 mil socket on our impact. Go ahead and pull that first bolt out. So we'll go ahead and remove our other mounting bolt. Now from the factory, these are pressed in studs going down, so you would have a mounting nut. And you could either hammer those out or kind of use a pry bar and pull down on your lower control arm. Just be mindful of your axle in order to get this out of its seat here. So now we're gonna go ahead and remove the 3 upper mounting nuts for our strut. So we'll grab our 15 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I like to use S wrenches for these. You get a bit more articulation, but a regular ratchet wrench will work. So once you have all these loose, you should be able to go ahead and support your strut and loosen all these up and get them out by hand. And go ahead and pull your strut. Now once you have this process complete for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other side. So before we can install our new shackle, we're going to need to go ahead and install our provided bushings for our lower mount here. So the easiest way to do so is we're going to take 1/2 and our insert. Go ahead and get that started in here. Sometimes you'll get lucky and be able to push them all the way in, but sometimes that's not the case. So what we're going to do is take this and lay it vertically on a flat surface here. You don't need the vise, this is just as good surface. And we're going to take a dead blow mallet and tap this into place. Switch that around, kind of tap back here till that goes nice and flush. And we can grab our other side, get that started, and we'll do the same thing here. There you go. So now we're going to go ahead and get our shackle lined up on our leaf spring and kind of do the same thing we did getting the bolt out. We'll go ahead and bring it out, get our bolt in, get it through, and then we can get it back into place and get both of our bolts in and bolt our shackle up. We'll get this lined up here. I'm gonna bring this up. And we'll get the bolts started into here like so. We're gonna work it as far in as we can over this way. And once we get to a point where we can't go any farther, we're gonna bring this up and out. Like so. We'll line that up, get our bolt back through. Now we'll go ahead and loosely install our nut just so our bolt doesn't go anywhere. And we'll get our lower shackle mount back in place. So we'll push up on our leaf, get this started. Now this is going to be pretty tight with these new bushings. So once you get it started in there, you may have to take a dead blow or even a pry bar and get that into place. So we'll show you how to do that. So we'll go ahead and give it a few taps with our dead blow. once it gets pretty close to lined up, we'll switch out to our pry bar and kind of work it into position. Come from the front here, get it underneath, bring this up. It may go back a little bit. So what we'll do here is get our dead blow again, tap that back forward. We'll go ahead and work that up. Get our bolt started so it doesn't go far out. So now we've got our bolt started. It needs to go forward just a little bit more. So again, with our dead blow, just give it a few taps. That should get it through. Now the backside is still going to be a little bit tough, but we'll work that into place. Then once you see it start to go through, you can just go ahead and work that in. And we'll go ahead and get that all the way through. So now we'll go ahead and install our factory nut back on the backside of this bolt. Then we'll go ahead and tighten these both back down and then tighten the front. So now we'll go ahead and grab our 24 mil socket on our ratchet and the 21 mil wrench and start tightening these rear bolts down. And we'll tighten down our shackle to spring bolt. Now you may be wondering why we didn't just put the bolt back in facing the other way so we didn't have to do that where we moved the leaf spring out. The answer to that is the bolt itself is actually too long to go all the way in at the other way, so we have to put it back in the factory direction. Now we can go ahead and tighten back down our front leaf spring bolt using our 27 mil socket on our ratchet and a adjustable wrench or a 24 mil wrench if you have one. Now once you have this done for this side, you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now we can go ahead and raise our differential up to meet up with our leaf springs, and we're going to install our new lowering spacers here as well. So we'll go ahead and get that close and we'll show you how to put the spacers in, then we'll go ahead and bolt this all back together. So now we've got our differential close to our leaf springs and we're going to go ahead and set our spacers in place. Now these are tapered and you want the bigger end to be facing towards the rear of the truck, and it has the flat part on the bottom on the differential. You want the taper to be facing up and back towards the leaf spring. So it has our holes, so we'll line those up with the dowels. Pretty much just get it close here. To kind of sit like so. You could even tape these, but don't really need to. So we'll go ahead and get that close, and we'll do the same thing for the other side. So we'll go ahead and get our U-bolts in place. Then we're going to grab our factory cradle bracket as well as a couple of our supplied flange nuts. Now your cradle bracket has these two little flat spots, and those are going to be facing the rear of the vehicle. So we'll go ahead and line these up. Now we'll go ahead and get our flange nuts on our U-bolts. So now that we've got these on, we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and we'll start snugging this up and line up our spacers and our dowels and get our rear end situated. So now we're going to grab our 19 mil socket on our impact and just start snugging up our nuts here just to kind of help our differential come up, and for safety reasons it just helps hold the differential. Now one thing you want to do here is alternate which side you're tightening so that your cradle bracket clamps on to your differential evenly and maintains your proper driveline angle. Keep an eye on your dowels while you're doing this. Now once you get to a point where you're snug, you want to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side so that this pulls up evenly. Now that we have both sides lined up in the dowels and snugged in, we'll go ahead and fully tighten them. Then you want to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our rear shocks. So we'll grab our factory 15mm bolts. We'll go ahead and get our top mount in. Then we'll loosely install our 18mm nut. Then we're going to need to go ahead and compress our shock a bit in order to get it into our mount. We'll go ahead and push up on that. Hold that in place. Install our bottom mounting bolt. Go ahead and reinstall our nut. Now we'll go ahead and tighten down both of our mounting bolts using our 15mm socket on our impact and an 18mm wrench. Now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now we can go ahead and install our transmission spacer. So what we're going to do is we've got a pole jack here under our transfer case, or if you have a two-wheel drive, you can put it under the tail shaft of your transmission towards your drive shaft. And we're going to unbolt the two bolts holding our rear transmission mount on our cross member here. So we're going to do that using our 21mm socket on our impact. Now using our pole jack, we're going to go ahead and push up on our transmission just to give us enough clearance between the mount and our cross member to install our provided spacer. Just enough. Make sure that it goes all the way in. So now we're going to lower our pole jack. And reinstall our 21mm nuts. Then we'll tighten those back down again with our 21mm socket on our impact. Alrighty guys, now that we've shown you how to remove your front strut, we can head over to the spring compressor because we're going to need to swap some stuff out on there, and then we can bring it back to the truck and get ready to put it on. Alrighty guys, so now we've got our strut in the compressor here. We're going to need to compress that down and remove the 18mm nut for our top hat so we can separate that, pull our shock out of our strut body, and go ahead and pull the top hat off and install our new spring. So we'll do that now. So we've got this compressed, so we'll grab our 18mm socket and a swivel adapter with an extension on our impact and support our shock and remove that top hat nut. Now we'll go ahead and decompress our spring so we can go ahead and get it out and remove our top hat. So now we can go ahead and pop our top hat off of our rubber isolator. Then what we're going to do is install our provided preload spacer into our top hat, just like so. Pop that right back on. It's just easier to do this while it's still on the factory spring. And then we're going to pull the entire assembly off just like so. Now we can install our top hat onto our new spring, and we're going to line that top coil up with that set point here for our isolator. Make sure that's butted up against it. Now we can set this back in the compressor so we can get our shock body back in. Now we're going to compress our new spring just a bit so we can get our shock up and through and get our stud back through the top hat and reinstall that 18mm nut. So now we'll go ahead and get our shock body back through, and we'll line our bottom coil up with the seat on our lower cup here. Go ahead and reinstall that nut. Now we're going to keep the cup lined up and we're going to realign our mounting studs here in line with our top mounting points. They're going to go parallel with the front too. Now we're going to grab our 18mm socket, swivel, and extension on our impact again, support our shock and tighten down our top hat nut. Now we can decompress our spring and make sure our bottom coil sits properly on our lower cup. Now we're ready to go back over to the truck. Once you've got this side done, you can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll go ahead and get our top mounting studs installed into our strut mount and go ahead and reinstall our 15mm flange nuts loosely just to hold it in place. So now the easiest way to bring our lower control arm and knuckle back up to meet our strut, since this is a lowered strut, is to lower it down, and we're going to use a floor jack to bring the lower control arm up, get our bottom mounting bolts in, and go ahead and tighten those back up. Now just a reminder, we do not have the factory studs in our strut. If you do, it'll be a little bit easier, but this is still an easy way to get those back up to meet each other. Now that we have this close, we'll go ahead and reinstall our bolts. First one in, go ahead and get our second one in. Then we'll reinstall our flat washers and nuts. So now that we have those started, we can go ahead and lower our floor jack, bring our truck back up, and start tightening everything down. So now we can go ahead and tighten down our bottom two mounting bolts. Again, ours are a 19mm wrench and 19mm socket on our impact. So now one thing to note here is your kit does come with these bottom strut mount spacers. This is for if you don't want the maximum amount of lift, you want to keep it in that 1.25" range, you would install these spacers underneath the bottom mounts of the strut before you put the mounting bolts in. Obviously we're going for maximum drop here, so we're not going to be installing these, but if you want to keep it in that lighter range of drop, these are what you would install underneath your mounts before you bolt everything together. So now we can go ahead and get our upper ball joint back into our knuckle. So we'll pull that back over, get this down through our seat, and go ahead and reinstall our 18mm nut on our stud here for our ball joint. So now we'll get our knuckle lined up with our ball joint here. Now you may need a pry bar to pull back down on your upper control arm here. Then we'll go ahead and reinstall that nut. Once you get it on a couple threads, it'll hold that in place. Then we can take our bungee cord off. Now we'll grab our 18mm socket and swivel adapter on our impact. Go ahead and get that on our nut. Now again, we're going to use this pry bar to apply some tension to our upper control arm and ball joint. It'll help it to keep from spinning while we're trying to tighten it. Now we'll go ahead and tighten down our upper 3 mounting nuts for our strut. So we'll grab our 15mm ratchet wrench, tighten those down. Now we'll go ahead and reinstall our brake and ABS line brackets. So we'll go ahead and pull these mounting bolts out, get our brackets back in place. We'll tighten this one down with our 10mm socket on our ratchet. And we'll do the same thing for our ABS line. Go ahead and tighten that down with our 8mm socket. Now we'll go ahead and reinstall our outer tie rod into our knuckle. So we'll go ahead and get that lined up. Get that seated. Reinstall our 21mm nut. And we'll tighten that back down with our 21mm socket on our impact. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our mounting nut for our sway bar end link. So we'll go ahead and reinstall that at the bottom here. And then we'll tighten that back down with our 18mm socket on our impact. Now once you've got this done for this side, you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other side. And always remember to refer to your manufacturer torque spec for all of your hardware. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Ford Performance lowering kit with 1.5-inch front and 2.5-inch rear drop for 15 to 20 F-150 Super Cab and Super Crew excluding the Raptor. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.